and today I am doing the A to Z author challenge with only classic authors. I saw Lindsay over at the Blog for Christian Girls do this, and so I really wanted to do it too. Before we get into the challenge, I want to make sure that you know that Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids. Today's MK shout out goes to Nathan, who is 7 years old and lives with his family in Japan. Nathan loves puzzles and comics and Pokemon. If you want to donate to Nathan or children like him, you can donate to the Books for MKs charity at GoFundMe.com. And don't forget to subscribe and click on that little bell. So the A to Z Authors challenge is pretty simple. You just have to go from A to Z and find an author whose either their first or their last name begins with that letter. So let's start with A, and that is really simple. I'm just going to choose Jane Austen. And my favorite book by Jane Austen is Emma. Next is B, and I'm going to choose Anne Bronte. And my favorite book by her is Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Next is C, and I'm going to keep it really simple. And I'm going to choose Charlotte Bronte, and my favorite book of hers is Jane Eyre. Next is D, and you know exactly what I'm going to say. Charles Dickens, and my favorite book of Dickens is David Copperfield. For E, I'm going to say Elizabeth Gaskell, and my favorite book of hers is Wives and Daughters, although, no, maybe I should say North and South. Oh, I love them both so much. Here we go, North and South. I can't decide. I love them both too much. For F, I'm going to choose C.S. Forester, who wrote the Hornblower series, and this is one of my favorites in the series, Beat to Quarters. For G, I choose Kenneth Grahame, and my favorite book of his is Wind in the Willows. For H, I choose E.W. Hornung, who wrote Raffles the Amateur Cracksman. Okay, I have searched and searched for an author on my classic shelves whose either first or last name begins with an I, and I can't find anybody. At least, I mean, maybe it's just staring me in the face and I'm just not seeing it, but I can't find anyone whose name starts with an I. So I'm gonna go with a title that starts with an I, Sir Walter Scott's Ivanhoe. Better than nothing, right? For J, I've chosen John Buchan, who wrote the incredible 39 Steps, and the second book in that series is Green Mantle, which is actually, I think, my favorite in the series. Obviously, for K, I had to choose Rudyard Kipling, and my favorite book of his also starts with a K, that is Kim. For L, I have Louisa May Alcott, and one of my favorite books is her Eight Cousins and Rosenbloom duology. For M, I have the fantastic, the wonderful John Milton, my favorite poet of all time. For N, I have chosen Nathaniel Hawthorne, Scarlet Letter. The Scarlet Letter isn't necessarily my favorite book of all time or anything, but I can really appreciate the genius of the story. For O, I have Baroness Emuska Orczy, and she wrote the Scarlet Pimpernel series, one of my favorite series of all time. For P, I have chosen Paul Creswick's Adventures of Robin Hood. It doesn't get much more classic than that. I am skipping over Q because there just aren't any authors' names that start with Q. That would be weird. And straight on to R, for which I have Anne Radcliffe's Mysteries of Udolpho. Gothic melodrama at its very best. Of course, the only choice for the S has to be William Shakespeare, and my favorite play is Much Ado About Nothing. For T, I have Anthony Trollope, and my favorite book of his is Dr. Thorne, which is the third book, I think, in the Barsetshire Chronicles. Of course, I cannot find an author whose name starts with a U, but I'm just going to go with Alexandre Dumas because Dumas has a U in it, and my favorite book of his is Count of Monte Cristo. The next one is V, so naturally I have chosen Jules Verne, and my favorite book of his is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, although I really love Around the World in 80 Days. It's hard to choose between those. For W, I have chosen Wilkie Collins, and my favorite book of his is The Moonstone. I'm going to skip over X because nobody has an X in their name. And for Y, I can't find a name that actually starts with Y, but Howard Pyle has a Y in it. And of course, his most famous book is Men of Iron. And for the Z, I chose Baroness Orczy again because she's the only author I can find with a Z anywhere in the name. This is actually kind of a shoot-off book from the Scarlet Pimpernel series. It doesn't properly belong in the Scarlet Pimpernel series, but it's kind of a spin-off book, and it's Pimpernel and Rosemary. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite classic authors that would fit into this challenge. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.